Okay.
Yeah. All right. There we are.
Okay.
Okay, doke. Wonderful.
Okay. Right. So I spent a fair amount of time looking at the video, and I thought the video was a lot better than a lot of the videos because I was able to understand a fair amount of it, and I made notes on it. Then a couple of days went by, and I looked at it, and it was almost like, yeah, there were a couple of areas that I was able to. It's amazing. I don't know whether it's my age or whether, I don't know. It just, but that's why I'm here. I mean, obviously, if I could have succeeded on with video alone, I wouldn't necessarily have. I wouldn't have gone to the actually getting a. Okay, so here. So then the question becomes: I was thinking about, before we start, we should just discuss like what is the best way for us to proceed. On the one way is that you have a great deal of experience, and having heard a little bit about my playing and where I am, which we can elaborate on a little more, you can decide perhaps what the best thing is for me. Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I came to you as part of it is because not that I don't have discipline, like I have an enormous amount of discipline. But what happens is when you work with YouTube with a half a dozen different teachers, you wind up so diffuse. So, like when you're saying to me, "Oh, do you know upper structures?" Yeah, you solidified the upper structures for me. I'd seen video on the upper structures, and I never used them. But now, so it wasn't. What I accomplished was that each time you go through it, you just solidify things a little bit more. So now I remember they're all major chords. It's the second, it's the tritone, the F sharp in the key of C, and it's the six, and it's the flat six.
That's
As
right.
in inversions, generally the first or second inversion is the best way to
Absolutely.
employ
Yeah.
the upper structures. So
There is one more, by the way, that I
okay,
didn't mention. And this one is a minor triad, and it's on the flat ninth.
okay.
So if that, say
That'll
on
be
the
the
sixth
flat,
tab,
the flat nine, the third,
yeah,
and the flat 13.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to put that into my armamentarium. So, right. So different ways that I could sort of tell you what I want to learn, and perhaps part of the time I can tell you those things. I was thinking, yeah, we should, if it's okay with you, we could possibly meet on a regular basis. I mean, I'm not going to have a lot of time to think this over. Wait another 10 years and then go back to it. Like it's this is it. Either it's now or never. So
Yeah.
also, I hated on the tape when I was talking. Like I
What,
kept on wanting to skip over listening to myself and back. So perhaps I could try to limit my interruptions of you. Okay, then what else? Right. So part of the time I could mention things that I particularly like to know, and you could spend a little bit of time either showing them to me or thinking about a better way to show it to me, and then the next time show it to me.
yeah.
And then the other way to approach it is that you can say, these are the things that you really need to know. My concern with that is that if you're too demanding, yeah, I'm gonna feel like, oh no, like that's just I'm gonna feel bad next time. He's gonna be disappointed that I didn't learn. So I certainly don't want to be in that. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
right. So the thing is, like, one of the things that let me just mention a few things I'd like to solidify, and you
Oh,
take it into context of what you were planning to do. It's like when we're playing like a 1-5 or like with the left hand, shells or whatever it is. Um, I never did any formal exercises with it. So perhaps at some point you could just introduce me to one exercise where I would go, for example, from the flat seven to the three to the major seven with the left hand in a
yeah.
way. One, th- so I think I practiced a little bit going from the seven to the three to the seven, but I wasn't exactly sure like when you want like so the let's suppose you're playing a 2-5-1. You're going from the minor to the
Yeah.
dominant to the major seven. Do you always want to have the three in the left hand with the dominant? I mean, which does it matter whether you're playing the 1-7 or the 1-3?
No, there's various ways of doing it. I'm going to do a screen share and just show you a couple of examples. Now, I'm going to try putting a virtual keyboard on and see if you find that better than using the overhead view of the piano.
Yeah, this is good.
Okay, so let's say we're doing a 2-5-1 in the key of C major. A really simple, very basic, but very good way to practice that would be simply to play the root in the left hand, and then in the right hand, for the D minor 7, I'm going to play the 7th and the 3rd like that. Now, when we go to G7, obviously the root goes down to G. The 7th of D minor 7, C, drops a semitone to the 3rd of G7, like that. Now we're going to go to C major 7, and the 7th of G7 is now at the top, and that's going to drop a semitone to the 3rd of C major 7. So now you could do that the other way around. Instead of starting with the 7th and the 3rd above it, you could take the left hand root down an octave and play the 3rd with the 7th above it. As an exercise, it's a good idea to do both, but in reality, if you had to make a choice, it would be that one because it's muddy down there. So let's just go through again and look at exactly what is happening. So the 7th is dropping to the 3rd of G7. The 3rd of D minor 7 remains as the 7th of G7. Now the 7th of G7 drops to the 3rd of C major 7, and the 3rd of G major 7 remains as the major 7th
Right.
of C major 7. Now, that's probably the most basic voicing that you can do. You could also practice the left hand just saying, so this is like as though you were accompanying, if you were playing a ballad or something or whatever, and you're playing the melody and the rest of the chord up with the right hand. The left hand could go,
Are you seeing me at all?
yes,
Oh, you
yeah,
are.
yeah.
I don't see myself on here. Let's see. I don't know why. So
Well,
you
you
can
put,
see, can you see the piano? Just let me adjust this so you can see the piano. Is it okay? The
yeah,
computer.
yeah, sure.
All right, it's fine. All right, go ahead.
Um, Now you can do root and 7th in the left hand, going to root and 3rd, going to root and 7th. So that's another way of practicing it. Now, with all of these, you could go through a cycle of fifths, but a diatonic cycle of fifths. That meaning that everything comes from the key that you're in. So everything will come from C major. So you could go 2, 5, 1, and then you go to 4, and then to 7, to 3, to 6, to 2, and back to there. Or if you did that in the right hand, you'd be going. Or you could do it the other way around. So it's all those exercises really are just
Okay.
about
So
voice.
I've practiced like the 2-5-1s, like playing. Can you see the piano or you hear?
Yeah,
I can't see the,
it sounds like you're doing a kind of Bill Evans voice.
yeah,
Maybe
right. So I'm playing the just a. This is rootless. Let's see. But what I was thinking of with the left hand, like here's the one in the minor 7, one in the flat 7, and then G, let's see, C, F, B flat. Uh, is that useful for anything or what?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's just really getting used to this concept that when you're doing a down a fifth chord progression, which
Right,
are doing most of the time, that the seventh drops to the third of the following chord, and
right,
the third remains and becomes the seventh of the following chord. So even with the voicing that you were doing, which was like this,
right,
so if you look in the middle, once again, that's the seventh, drops to the third, and the third now remains as the seventh of C major seventh. The seventh of G7 drops to there. So even though you've got extra notes now, we've got upper extensions, another note. The voice leading principle remains the
right,
same, and that is a very important one. But now those kind of voicings, they're great. You can play them in the right hand, just a root in the left hand, or you can do them as rootless voicings. If you're saying a ballad and you want to, when you're doing the repeat, say, you want to go into say you've done it as a kind of timeless first 8 bars, and then you go into the repeat and you want to make it kind of in time but a very slow tempo. You can do a kind of stride thing. So say it's an F major 7 chord, play a root, that kind of thing. So, they're very, very useful, those voicings that you've been doing for that kind of thing. On the G7, remember that there's variations of that. You could put the flat ninth in there.
right. So that I've
And you
worked on a
can
little
put
bit. Playing the flat nine and the flat 13 is basically the one I like the best, I think.
yeah, it's gorgeous, isn't it? Yeah, so if you go, because now with that, you've got beautiful voice leading, you've got that going to that, going to that, you've got that going to that, and so on. And with all these voicings, what we're trying to do is move everything really as little as possible so that everything is smooth and
Right,
connected, and
right.
not sort of jumping up and down the piano all the time. The other thing you want to practice is a cycle of dominant 7. So this is where you are going each. So say you're on C7. The normal place to go to would be either F major or F minor, but instead go to F7, and in that case the third of C7 drops a semitone, becomes the seventh of F7. The seventh of C7 drops a semitone to the third of F7, and you can just go around the full set of keys then. B flat 7, E flat 7, A flat 7, D flat 7, G flat 7, B7, A7, A7, D7, G7, and then finish on the top. Now, once it starts getting muddied, you want to go back up the octave, but that is, and also practice that in both positions, so not just there, but there. So, and also doing it.
Yeah, do that same right now. What you're doing, just do it slowly so that when I
Sure, yeah. Okay, so you're starting on C7. So in the left hand is just playing root here. So the right hand we've got 7th and 3rd. or you could do third and seventh.
Right.
And when you go into a cycle of dominant sevenths, so in each chord, each new chord, we've actually changed key. The right hand, just both notes drop a semitone.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good exercise. Just
Yeah, and then of course you can do the full dominant sevenths if you wanted. You could do it like that. Getting a bit muddy there.
do the same thing now. Just do it a little bit more slowly because when I'm
Yeah,
watching
sure.
it, well, I'll tell you
Okay,
what the situation is. Just so I'm lying, I'm watching it, and I'm trying to see what you're doing. Once I know what you're doing, it's I got it. But when I'm learning it, if someone always move, if like by the time I digest what you're playing, you're on to the next chord.
sure.
So
Okay.
I wind up on YouTube like slowing it down, and
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah.
better if you play more slowly. Then it's even if I slow it down, I can get it as slow as I want. So just do the same thing that you just played, just
Sure.
more slowly.
So, C7, I'm starting up here with that voicing playing the 7th, the ninth, the 3rd, and the 13th. Root in
Right.
the left hand. Now, the 7th, in all these voicings, the 7th of one chord drops to the 3rd of the next
Right. So
one.
this we you refer to these as the B voicings. Do you like
Yeah, I call them Bill Evans voicings, A and B voicings, yeah.
right? So this would be the
So you've
B
got
or
that one and that one. To be honest, I can never remember which one's A and which
okay,
one's B.
right. So right. Just one of them is inverted from the other. So let's
Yeah.
call this the B.
Okay.
Flat
So,
7/9.
as I said, the 7th drops as always to the 3rd of the next chord.
Right.
The 3rd, when we're doing a cycle of dominant sevenths, the 7th of C7, the 3rd of C7, the E in the middle, also drops a semitone like that. Now, the ninth of C7, D, remains and becomes the 13th of F7.
Okay, so now you're playing the F in the same position. Right. It's also 3/13 flat 7/9,
So,
right?
so you, basically, if one of them's A and the other one's B, you're alternating either BA, BA or A,
Right,
BA, B.
right.
So the first voicing I'm playing is 7th,
Right. So
9th,
one is flat 7/9, 3/13. The other one's 3/13 flat 7/9.
that's it, you got
I
it.
got it.
And then you just alternate between the two voicings. And so on. Now
Okay.
that is a really good exercise. Those voicings are excellent. They just feel so right. And as I say, you can play them with the right hand, or you can play them as rootless voicings with the left hand. Because you don't have to play everything in root position. There's a thing about chord progressions that as long as you keep throwing the root in, a lot of the time, some of the chords you can play it without, and your
Right.
brain
The
kind
brain
of
just
puts
kind of
it
hears it.
in,
Right.
it fills it in, and it's like because the brain's accustomed to hearing one chord followed by another, and the context of it makes it feel right, and it just gives a little bit of variety. Instead of using the same voicings all the time. The one thing I would stress, I said this in the email, is that you know how you said that you'd been playing all the voicings, all the chords in the left hand and then single
Right.
melody in the
Yes.
right hand. I would get used to that concept that you can, there's two sort of basic ways. One is to have a close voicing where all the notes are bundled together in the right hand and a single note in the left hand. So it's kind of the opposite, really, of what you've been used to. And then the other way is to have an open voicing where the notes are spaced out, roughly even, but if anything, getting slightly bigger towards the bottom. And golden rule, keep that third away from the bass note.
Right, I got that
Don't
rule.
want,
The
you know,
problem is, you need to give me exercises in the right hand. Like when I start, first of all, I'm left-handed, and I know that's not an excuse, but perhaps I feel like I was a little better at getting the left-hand chords, maybe because I was left-handed. But now playing the piano, I'm used to using my right hand, but I
yeah,
have to force myself to play the
yeah,
chords in my right hand. And so any exercises, like for example, we were doing the diminished exercises where I practiced actually going up each of the three diminished families, going up, moving
yeah.
up the scales. I mean,
Yeah,
moving up the chords, like from the C to the E flat diminished,
yeah.
to the G flat diminished, and so on. So I'm getting a little better at that, and it also the advantage of just doing that is I realize now I have four fingers of my right hand on the keys.
Yeah.
So if you can sort of give me exercises where I have for my right hand, four fingers, simple things maybe, where I have all four fingers on the keys and I can begin to move around a little bit. Uh,
Okay.
it'll just get me used to using my right hand more.
So let's do the Barry Harris major six diminished scale in the key of F because polka dots and moonbeams is in the key of F. So we're going to play block chords with the left hand just playing the top note an octave lower. So we're going to use an F major six chord, which is F, A, C, and D.
Right.
And at the top note is just going to be the scale, which is an F major scale, but with one added note. The C sharp comes between the fifth and the sixth. So it
Right. So
becomes
that's like
an
the
eight note scale.
that's the bebop scale.
It's
No?
also, yeah, this is what's very confusing because
Okay.
it's also widely known as a bebop major scale,
Okay.
but it's the same scale. Now, in the context of Barry Harris's harmonica idea, he calls it the major six diminished scale. And the reason he puts that extra note in is so that you can alternate major six with diminished seventh all the way up. If you didn't have that extra note, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Right.
So you play major sixth on the first note, F. So right hand plays the F at the top, left hand plays the F at the bottom, and then the remaining notes go in between, played with the right hand, A, C, and D. The next one you play G at the top and at the bottom, and diminished seventh, so B flat, D flat, and E. Next one back to F major six. So A, remaining notes C, D, and F. Next one B flat, C sharp, E, and G. Next one major six. C, remaining notes in between. Now this is where we've got the extra note in the scale,
Hmm.
and it's for the diminished seventh,
Right.
major six, diminished seventh. And you want to practice it up and down.
Right. So like, I can play it in the key of C, but in C,
Yeah.
but not in F. I
Okay.
haven't.
Now, another reason for this extra note is that by having an eight note scale like that, it means that you could actually, with the left hand, if you wanted, you could, as long as if you're playing an F6 in the right hand, as long as the left hand starts on one of the notes of F6, you can play the scale in reverse direction. So let's say I started with the left hand on D, the right hand's playing the F6 chord. We could do something like that. Or you could just start it on F but go in contrary motion. Sorry. You can sort of do a U-turn wherever you like in the left hand. You could go.
Can you do the same thing in the key of C, just so I can, because that's what I know, and then I'll be able to move to the key of F.
So you can, instead of going
C6, right.
Instead of the left hand going the same direction, similar motion, play it in contrary motion. So the left hand is going down now.
Right.
Now, as an exercise, you want to play it right through the scale, but also practice starting on different notes. So let's try it on each of the different chord notes in the right hand. So we've done it
slowly.
starting.
Do the same. Just do exactly what you're doing slowly.
Yep, sure.
Continue slowly.
So
I'm going to work on this. So just do it slowly.
So I'll just go through again what I've just done then. So remember, the scale is this.
Right.
So in the right hand, I'm going to alternate major sixth chords with diminished sevenths. So there's only two chords. In the left hand, I'm going to play the same scale, but in contrary motion to the melody. So I'm going to go down. Don't forget the left hand there, there's the extra note in.
Right.
Now, then you can practice it, but with the left hand, instead of starting on C, practice starting on any of the chord notes. Now I'm going to move it up there, and with the left hand start on A.
By chord notes, you mean C6 chord notes, correct?
Yes, either C, E, G, or A.
Right.
So as long as you start the left hand on a chord note, either C, E, G, or A, and the right hand is playing a C6 chord, and both hands follow the major sixth diminished scale, or the bebop scale, then you're always going to be playing the right notes, and that is one of the sort of quite ingenious things about this scale, because it enables you to play things that sound really clever, contrary motion things, but as long as you've got the scales under your fingers and the chords, you can't actually go wrong.
Right.
So it's not something you want to do.
Continue. Just you started playing from the E, play from the G and from the A, just so I see it.
Okay, yeah. So so we've done the C, we've started from the A, so let's start now from the G. So and then it's starting from E. So we've done it from C, from E, from G, from A. Another really good one to practice is that Barry Harris taught, and it's starting off on a single note. So we'll start on C. Then on the next note up, the left hand just plays a note as well. So you've got two notes of the chord. On the next one, you've got three notes of the chord, then four notes of the chord, and then finally five. That in standards can be really, really useful. So
Can you show me your hands on that same move? Can I see your hands?
um,
How your hands are moving, or just tell me? You're
yeah,
starting off with just your right hand, right?
yeah. Let me. I'll stop the screen share and go onto the other camera then.
Yeah.
So I'm starting there. So it's just a single note with the right hand, and then two notes, one with the right hand, one with the left. Now the left hand all the way through this exercise is only playing one note. It's the right hand that does the rest. So now the right hand has two notes, left hand one. Now the right hand has three notes, left hand still one. And
Wait,
then
the right hand is playing the B minor triad. Okay.
it's a bit, the right
Right.
hand's playing a B diminished
Okay.
triad. And then four notes here. So you by the time you get there, you've now got the full thing. But that is a really useful one to learn. But it can be very effective. I mean, in this polka dot and moonbeam, you can start it off by doing that. You can go, sorry. You know, doing a country motion thing. Don't have to do that, but it's just,
No, no,
once
I know
again,
it's nice. Yeah, I agree.
it's an option, isn't it? So I mean, that's an awful lot to practice, to be
No,
honest.
no, no. It's not. It's because I'm able to play, uh, not not going in the same direction. I'm able to play the sixth diminished scale in the key of C going up, but
Yeah.
somehow or other, I got a little bit had difficulty playing in contra motion. I don't know why it was a barrier for me, but I just had difficulty. So now that I've seen it from you, I'll be able to go on to that. I'll learn it.
Okay, no, great. Um, so remember the other things that we talked about last week, that was that simple movement in a major chord, basically the seventh going to the sixth, just to create in a movement. So if you've just got a long melody note, say a C major seven, the third of the chord, the seventh, major seven, can drop to the sixth. And at the same time, if you have the ninth with the major seventh,
You're in the key of F.
I'm doing a C major seven
Oh, okay.
chord.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm just playing the major seventh
Yeah,
and the
here
ninth.
go back to the go back to the piano with the colors.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
I appreciate it. Thanks. Okay,
So
right.
the sort of basic thing is this: the major sevenths can alternate with the sixth. You can add the ninth, and then the ninth drops to the root, the major seventh to the sixth. So you've got in a movement with two voices moving in thirds, which is always nice.
Okay, so do the same thing. I feel like I'm a nag, but do the
No,
same
no.
thing. Just try to like speak at half the half the
Okay,
do the
sure,
same thing
sure.
at half speed.
Okay. So I'll start again then.
I'll tell
So
you because once I watch it, once I understand it, I can play it. But
Sure.
if it takes me a, if I have to keep, I've spent so many hours like playing things over and over again to try to figure out what's happening. So if going slow will save me enormous amounts of time in terms
Sure,
of
yeah.
figuring out right away what it is you're
That's
doing. So
right.
go ahead, do it slowly, and
Okay,
don't be
so
offended by me slowing you down.
no, 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 not
Okay.
at all. So that's the basic C major 7 chord. I mean, you could play it there, or you could have the seventh up there. Doesn't really matter where it is. But what I'm talking about is when you've got a long melody note and just one chord on it, you want something to move. Now, a lot of people will resort to arpeggios, which is nothing wrong with that. And they've got their use. But sometimes it's a bit cleverer just to have an inner movement. And on a major chord, the standard thing is that the major seventh can drop to the sixth. If you then add the ninth as well as the major seventh, you can move both those notes.
Slow, stay slow. Just do it slowly. Go ahead.
So, so the B, which is the major seventh, can drop to the sixth, A.
Okay.
And at the same time, the ninth, D, can drop to the root, which is C. So that works well because those two notes, the seventh and the ninth, are a third apart. And in harmony, thirds and sixths always make nice colourful combinations.
So here, this it's funny. You started off by playing the G B E, which
Yep,
is what is G? I mean, so you're playing sort of 1 5 major 7 3.
that's it. Yeah.
But it's funny. The reason I know I will look at things that for some reason or other I this is not like some. I obviously recognize what you're doing, but it's not a position that I often play, and I probably should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is a very much used position. That it's just as simple. Right. So actually, I'm glad you said.
Right, 5 major 7 3 for playing the C major 7.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not just for a major seventh though, and I'm glad you said that because it's worth mentioning that a good basic voicing for all kind of seventh chords is for the left hand to play the root and the fifth,
Right.
and the right hand to play either the seventh and the third, or the third and the seventh.
Okay.
Now, both of those are standard voicings that you want to use a lot. With
Right.
that one,
Right.
you could also double the seventh there. So, do you remember I talked about the arpeggios where you could go?
Play the arpeggio again.
It's just the upper three notes because the thing
Okay.
that makes that work so well is it's an octave with one note in the middle. Now that's so much more effective than doing something like
Right.
that. Just sounds like an exercise, whereas that is a really pleasant arpeggio. So the basic thing is that the root and fifth, and then either seventh and third or third and seventh. And then sort of enhancing that, you say, well, there's a bit of a gap in the middle. We could fill that with an extra seventh. So that would work on a C7 as well. Or it would work on a minor seventh. So I've got seventh and third, or third and seventh. It could work on a minor 7 flat 5. So I now need to
Slow.
flatten the.
Just go slowly. Talk slowly.
Sure, yeah. So in each of these voicings, the left hand is playing the root and the fifth. The
Right.
right hand is
Right. And then the
either,
third and the seventh is being played either 7/3 or 3/7.
absolutely. So that's any type of
Right.
seventh
But
chord.
just for some reason, when I look at something, if I would have recognized the 7/3 right away, then I just would see what note you added additionally, like the five or whatever,
Yeah.
or the right, or another seven or another three.
I mean, another way of looking at that would be this, just say that is a basic C major 7 chord. Now, remember the thing about keeping the third away from the
Right.
bass,
So you're just moving the three and the seven up to the right hand.
but it's up there, yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to practice that with all different types of seventh chord. So it's a good exercise to play major seventh, drop the seventh of semitone to make it dominant seventh, drop the third a semitone at the top to make it minor seventh, drop the fifth a semitone, the G, to
Now it's
make
flat
it
five. Right.
minor 7 flat 5, and then drop the seventh a semitone to make it diminished seventh. So in each case we're just dropping one note a semitone, and of course you could do that instead of starting seventh and third, you can start third and seventh. C7, drop the E a semitone, C minor 7. Drop the fifth a semitone, C minor 7 flat 5. Drop the seventh a semitone, diminished seventh. So those voicings, left hand just playing root, fifth, right hand either 7 and 3 or 3 and 7. Work on all kind of seventh chords. So that you know, definitely those are voicings that you see, that forces you to take that third away from the bass, which is, you know, absolutely where it doesn't want to be, down in the bass. Right. So how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate, well, how much that's clarified it for you?
I'm perfectly clear.
Good.
Perfectly clear. So that right, because I actually was practicing when I was trying to play spread voicings. I was playing exercises where I was playing 1/5 in my left hand and then 7/3/7 in my right hand. You can probably hear. Can you see the piano? Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was playing in the keys. I was playing. Let's see. So here's 3/7/3. And then going through the B flat in the circle of right. That's similar to what you're doing.
Okay.
What do you? No, just tell
Right.
me what you think.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. With all of these, I wouldn't worry about putting any rhythm to it just at the moment. I would simply do it when you're practicing it. Play it really slowly
Right.
and check every chord, because the thing is, if you're playing it a bit fast and you are playing a wrong chord, you might get used to the sound, think it's right, and you're practicing it, playing it wrong over and over again.
Right.
So,
That
you
problem I
know,
don't think I have. My ear is such that I can tell when I play. I can
yeah,
tell when I play a bad note.
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay,
No,
doke.
I appreciate what you showed me because now I have a more formal basis of going over and make sure there are no gaps.
Yeah. Okay. Now, voicing, I mean, it's a big subject, and you know, like you were talking about the upper structure triads and that, you start to get used to, you know, certain voicings, and they become yours, if you know what I
Right.
mean.
Exactly. Right.
You know, and what suits some people doesn't suit other people. Some people like to be way out, you know, very discordant. you know, some people like to be quite safe and that, you know, and play something that's really comfortable and that. And it's just pure personal choice that, but you start finding that these shapes just, you know, your fingers get used to them and you start putting them down without thinking about them too much. But you do really need to do a lot of voicing. By the way, I meant to say at the beginning, thank you so much for those two lead books. I thought you were sending a lead sheet. I've never seen those Dick Hyman books before.
Yeah,
And I love it with the
I'm
lyrics.
glad. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely excellent. And also, it suggests lots of alternative chord progressions in them. So I'm so grateful because
Right.
I thought I'd seen them all, but I've never seen these books.
So what I thought we might begin to approach, again, you determine the priorities. I thought we might pick a tune. Like, so rather than, we went through a tune on the first lesson. And so, but the way I wanted to start was more, a little more simply. Like, you tell me, okay, I'm going to play the tune. And I play in 1/5, just to make life simple. I'm playing, let's say, a 1/5 in my left hand or something, or just a bass note.
Yeah,
And I'm trying to figure out, look, based on a lead sheet, what notes I'm going to play. So I play the melody note on top. Then I'm
yeah,
looking to see which is closer to the note, the three or the seven. If the melody note is not the three or seven, then I play the appropriate three and seven, let's say below the melody note.
yeah, yeah.
Now, if I can even do that smoothly, that would be a bit of an accomplishment. And then
Sure.
there you,
Yeah,
so these, I, I know, see what's happening. So once I get started, you go, okay, you realize if you go there, you'll hit the flat nine dominant. Before I go there, I need to just be able to put the seven and the three below, just just to get to that level where I'm playing with the right hand, playing just a bass note, let's say the one and the five in the left hand, and the three seven melody note in the right hand.
yeah,
Is that a
yeah.
reasonable place to start?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So let's do that with polka dots and moonbeams then. So I'll go back onto screen share, and I mean this is a perfect one for putting all the Barry Harris diminished things in because there's so much of the melody moved by a step. But before we get on to that, let's just so the melody is C.
Right. So
So
let me just say one more proviso. When you
yeah,
start playing, try to. I know it's impossible for people like you to avoid putting other embellishments in, like flat
sure,
nines and flat 13s. It just comes. But
yeah,
try to force yourself to just play the simplest seven and three. And then once we do that, then we can say, okay, well, if you want to add, then you can. But I want to just see the basic voicing. I want to just get to do that first.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely right. Couldn't agree more. So first of all, you've got quite a lot of notes in that first part. You don't need to play the chord on every note. So I'm going to play the F major 7 chord. By the way, when it says F, just F on its own, it wants to be either F major 7 or F6. So I'm going to opt for F major 7. Play the C. This is the process that I think it's a good one to follow. Play the melody note, put the bass note down, the root of the chord. The next step is always to try and get the third of the chord as close to the melody as possible. So the third of the chord is
Right.
A. And then we need the major 7th. Now the melody note is the 5th, so we now have a complete chord. The way I would play that though is instead of going, I would play a single F with my left hand and then add the chord there. So once you've played that chord, just keep everything except for the melody down and just go up in steps in the right hand. Then we get to F and the chord is D minor 7. Melody, bass note. Now we could play down there or there. I'm going to play it there to keep it simple. So we've got melody, bass. Now the next step is the third of the chord is close to the melody, but the melody is the third.
Hmm.
So therefore we need the seventh. And although the fifth is optional, it's a bit thin on the ground there, just
Yeah,
three
I
notes.
try I practice this as playing it as A, C, D, F. I think is that
Right.
too heavy, too thick, or
I would, for the moment, I would try and do simple
okay?
voicings like that. Just, we've
Okay,
got
right. Keep the
everything there.
B in
We've
the
got the
bass. Okay,
root, the fifth, the seventh, and the third.
okay,
So far we've got this. Sorry.
good.
And then, so what you do there, because you can't keep those notes down while you play all those, it's impossible. So just keep them down with the pedal. So, and another thing, when it's a ballad like this, what a glorious song. I'm so glad you've chosen it. Um, you can play a timeless thing to begin with, just try and mess that up. It's, it sounds good. Just imagine a really good singer. Some of the pauses they do, they just, they're massive, aren't they? And
Yeah,
it's so effective. A sort of more amateur singer would be too anxious and want to keep, go
right.
straight into it. Whereas the really good singers, they're not frightened of just pausing at the beginning. So, and we go to A. Now it's G minus 7. So G down there. Next thing, always try and get the third as close to the melody. Third of the chord is B flat. Now we've got a seventh. We need a seventh. The seventh could go there, or it could go there. Now I'm going to opt for the low one for the simple reason that if you look at what happens with the melody there, the melody comes down. If you'd played the seventh there, the melody in that seventh would be getting sort of having a little fight. It was grounded to. So are you okay up to there? Shall I,
Yes.
shall I just show you again? So play a single bass note, and then, by the way, just there, I haven't put a fifth in. You
Okay, just hold
could,
that for a second.
yeah, sure. So we're
Well,
on
just tell me. My mind wandered for a second. Tell me why you decided to put the. Because when I fooled around again, I fooled around with this song. I played it almost sort of like going to like a B flat or putting the F just below the. Why tell me just the reason one more time why you decided to put the F below the B flat.
Um, because the melody in the right hand comes down there.
Oh, so you can't hold the chord if it's up there. Is that what you mean?
It wouldn't sound terrible,
Right,
but it's
right,
just
right, right, right. I
so
got
that
it.
the melody
Right,
isn't having to sort of move it out of the way. Now, what I was going to say is we've got the root, the seventh, the third, and the melody note is the ninth. There's a
right.
bit of a gap there. So probably a good idea would be to put the fifth in just there so that we've now got a better spacing. You don't want a great big gap and then a small one. It's not bad, but that's better. Now on the next bit, we've got E. put C down in the bass. The E is the third, so we don't need the third. We need the seventh, and I would put the fifth in, or it's going to be a little bit bare. Now, you notice there that the E is going on to the D, so you've got a C chord without the third there. But it doesn't matter, because you've played it once. And then you're going to change the chord anyway onto B flat 7, because if you notice that there's a chord subwritten above, and it works well.
Yeah, what does that mean? Like some of these lead sheets have like subtle differences. Like, what does it mean? Because the B flat is a little bit elevated on your lead sheet. Also,
Yeah, it means that the original chord progression would just show C7,
okay.
and he's suggesting that as a chord substitution.
Okay.
And try it and see if you like it. I do like it. I think it's a good one, because you could play like. So we got to the C7.
Right. So play the C7 and then put it. At what beat are you putting the B flat in? So you're putting the C. The dominant is over the E, and then
Yeah, I'm putting the B flat 7 on beat 4.
okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. Well, you know when you've got a melody with a quaver, or sorry, eighth note dotted quarter note, that means it's kind of the melody's sort of ground to a halt, and that's where you want to fill in with something. Sometimes just playing I mean, you could just play your left hand thumb, and that does the job. But that chord progression, I like it. So once we're on to that D,
Yeah, just play it one more. Just play it one more time. Putting the
yeah,
B flat
sure.
in.
So C, I'll just go through the C again. Melody notes, bass note. Add the 7th there, and then the 5th is optional, but because we've only got 3 notes, I would put it in. The E goes to the D, and then we're on to the B flat 7 chord. Now, we've got the D in the melody already, so we want the bass note, B flat. The D is the third of B flat 7, so we've already got that covered. Add the 7th and add the 5th.
Okay, now I see it.
So
Okay.
now, if you put in that chord substitution in, you do have to carry on with the next chord substitution, which is A minor 7, because that's the point of it. That you've got that lovely, all those voicings, by the way, the ones that I was saying about earlier on, the root and the 5th, 7th and 3rd, same again, same again. If you were going to the F, it wouldn't make so much sense. Wouldn't be wrong, but it doesn't have that lovely sense of feeling of leading. So I'm going to go
So
again.
let's just see the two voicings is when you have the A minor, you have an A in the bass.
Yep.
Okay, and the melody note is still a C.
Yep.
So let's see, that's the minor third,
Yep.
and then you play a G.
Yep.
Okay.
And also, again, because there are only 3 notes there, even though the 5th is optional, I'd put it in just so that you've got the same kind of texture as the other chords. So at the moment, we've played everything in 4 notes. So I'm going to do it really slowly from the beginning, and just here, sorry, we've got 5 notes, haven't we? I put the D in because I thought there was a bit of a gap there. And then, again, I would play the A first. That's something to get used to as well, that you don't always play all the chords straight away. Often you just play the bass note. Now, this bit is just the same as the second half of the first bar. Unless you go for the optional F7 over C, which means an F7 chord with C in the bass. That would sound like this. So the F7 over C, the melody note is A, the bass note is C, and then we need the A is the third, we need the seventh, and then I would, again, I think I would, we need the root, don't we, down there. Now, again, that makes sense if you carry on with the chord substitution that he's put in, which is B flat major 7.
Is the F? Are you using the same lead sheet that I'm using?
It's the one from the one that you sent me.
Okay, so where's the slash chord that you're talking about?
It's so we're on the second line, the first bar, and it's above the. If you look at the lyrics, I felt a bump.
Oh, I see it. The F7, right? I didn't see the F7 over C. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed it. Okay,
So
right at this point, you're playing all of the alternative chord, all of the.
Yeah, the reason is because they don't kind of work if you use them and then carry on with the original chord progression.
Right.
Because the point of the D minor B flat major 7 is that with the F7 over C in the middle, you've got that lovely contramotion bass. If you just played the melody there and just the bass note, that alone sounds lovely.
Right.
You don't need to do those alternate chord progressions though. You could do the entire thing with the original chords. So that would sound like this.
Oh.
And then G minor 7. So that doesn't sound wrong. It's just there's two options.
Right.
So that with the chord substitutions, so you know it's personal choice. That it's not that one is right and one is wrong. It's just a different option, and it's worth practicing in both because it's all practice for finding these voicings. So either of those follows nicely onto the A7 that's written there. So I'm going to stay with the B flat major 7, and I didn't talk through that voicing. So we've got the D up there, the B flat down there. Now, once again, the D is the third. So the 7th could go there, or it could go there. You'd probably put the 5th in there, I think, as well. That sounds now. I've got 2 7s there actually now. Or you could just do it like this. That kind of voicing with
Yeah, so
notes
let's
across
right
it.
for the simplicity of it. Why don't we put the 7 and the 3, play it like play it with the 7 and the 3 close to it, and then
Yep,
add the embellishments like the fifth or putting it an octave lower, just
yep,
just so I can get to the stage where I can play
yep.
the seven
Sure.
and three close to the melody note, and then I'll be able to make the next steps. Rather once
Okay.
I have that under my belt, I'll move along.
Sure, yeah. So if you want to do it that way,
Because
you
if
can
I
actually.
know it seems obvious a lot of things, but it's like playing in an octave low. I don't even want to. It sounds fine to me. I know you may not be able to play the chord. You might just, yeah. So you pointed out, but I would, in terms of like playing it through at the end, let's try to keep the 7 and the 3 right below. Unless there's a clash.
Yeah.
Let me try to get to that stage, and then we'll make the
Sure.
further changes. Okay.
So the left hand there, then in that case, you could just play it up there. So you've on the B flat major 7,
Okay.
you've got the root, the
Right.
fifth, the seventh, and major third.
Right.
That's fine as well. So A7, melody note A, bass note G. Now, third, close to the melody. Now it says +5, which means augmented fifths.
Right.
So you could play that down there. Sorry, there, I'm playing a flattened fifth. Or you could play it, although it might clash with it. He's written, actually, I've just noticed, that's good what he's written there. The F is the augmented fifths,
Right.
and what he's suggesting is play it like that, but when you go on to the G, take the augmented fifth down to the ordinary fifth, so that you've got the melody going down a step, augmented fifth.
Right.
That's a nice little touch that he's put in there. So the next bar, the melody note is F, bass note D. Melody note is the third. Put the seventh in, add the fifth, and again you've got root fifth, seventh and third. Now it's got different options there. You've got B flat minor chord over D flat, which is, so I'm assuming he's just talking about a B flat, ordinary B flat minor. I'm not sure that works so well. Oh, I don't know. Sorry. Yeah. So F, melody, is put B flat over D flat, so D flat in the bass. So now we need the root in the middle. And then we want an extra note, so I think I would double the third there.
Go slowly there. Let me see. So you got the
Sure.
F is the melody note. You
F
have
is the
The
melody
B
note.
flat. This is with the B flat minor over the D flat. The D flat is in the
Yep.
bass. The B flat is next,
So put the B flat in there.
right?
And
And then
then
you
we've got
need.
everything we need because it's only a simple triad. It's not a seventh chord, but just to thicken it
Oh,
out,
right. You don't right. You don't need the D flat on top because the D flat's already in the bass. Okay.
I would put a D flat there, just
Okay.
double the bass
Right.
note there, just to keep the texture roughly
Right.
the same. And then the next chord is
So
it's the
let's
same
let's also
kind.
do it. Let's do it with the E flat 9
Oh
also.
yeah,
So you can
sorry.
see it.
So F is the melody. Now I'll play the bass note down there, E
Okay.
flat. third,
Let me
G.
let me let me tell you what I think. Okay, so then you're going to
Yeah,
play
yeah,
the D flat is
yeah,
the flat. The D flat is the flat seven. No.
yeah, yeah. But
Okay.
always remember that the next, try and do it in this order. Go melody, bass, third of the chord as close to the melody as you can. So G,
Okay. So the G, right.
then, and then as you said, seventh there.
Okay. So as a general rule, always put the third in first, as close to the million, and then the seven.
Yeah, the only reason I'm saying that it's if you make it a priority, straight after melody and bass, it gets you used to it
Hmm.
because so many people see all the time, no matter how many times I tell them, still put the third down close to the bass. So if you kind of make that a little, a
Okay.
set procedure, it gets you used to doing that. So that bit now would be D minor 7, just root, 5th, 7th, 3rd. And then we're going to E flat 7, so once again, melody. Bass note down there because it's a bit squashed up
Right.
here. So we need
Now,
the
why? I mean,
third.
if you went up an octave, I mean, what's the reason not to move it up? I mean, does it matter whether the E flat is up an
It's
octave or where or down where it is?
not terribly, no.
Okay.
I'm moving it down so that in actual fact, that third there, just above the bass note, when the bass note is as high as that, it's fine. But
Okay.
actually, I think on reflection, I prefer it there. So that okay there?
Yep.
So
So
the next one is A. Now it's an F triad, C in the bass.
let me just see where
So
we are. Uh,
the third line down, the first note.
this the slash chord, the F over C.
That's it. Yep.
Okay.
So A is the third. So we need the root in. Could put the root there,
And this right.
fifth there, or you could play all three notes. Doesn't really matter which there. Now he's written below as above as an alternative to the F slash chord, just an F chord, which works actually. You could make it F major 7 like that. I think actually in that case I prefer to go to the ordinary F chord because E flat 9 going to F works well.
Let me just see the F over the F with the F slash chord again, just for 1 second.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So this is really what it is if you're going to use the F slash chord,
Yeah,
you have to
so let
do
me
it.
tell you. So we're going to put this. We're going to put the C in the bass,
Yeah.
and then put the F above it.
No, well,
Go to
start
the
off
okay. Then we'll put the melody note in the A.
melody, C in
A.
the bass, and then so the melody is the third.
Okay.
So the next note we need is F. I would play that there, and then the
It's the
fifth.
third, which is the let's see, which is the let's see. This is um the melody note is A.
Yeah.
Okay, so the right the trying to see what why am I not seeing this clearly? Is the chord is
So it's an F major chord, F,
right,
A, and C. Melody note is A. It's a slash chord, so it's telling you you've got to put C in the bass.
right.
So you say, right, so I've got the third there, I've got the fifth there, I need the root,
Okay, right.
and then at that point say, but
Okay.
there's not much there, so I will play another fifth. So what I'm saying is, if you're going to go to the F slash chord, you need to come from the B flat minor over D flat. That would sound like...
Right. So when you look at is this F an F? Is it an F triad? Is it an F6? What is the F?
Right. If it's just F over C, that's just a triad. If
Okay.
you're opting for the F, the substitute chord above, then because the melody note is A, you could actually play either F6 or F major 7. So what I'm saying is you need to choose either D minor going to E flat 7 going to F major 6 or major 7, or D minor B flat over D flat going to F slash chord over C,
Mhm.
so that it makes sense. See, E flat doesn't sound right going to F over C, but
Right.
E flat does sound right going to F. A dominant chord mainly goes down a fifth, but it goes up a second really well, either a semitone or a tone. And in this case, it's going up a tone rather. It's in classical music. It's what they call an interrupted cadence. It's when you sort of mind you're expecting. You might have no idea what a dominant and tonic chord is, but if you get to, you're expecting to hear that.
Right.
But sometimes you get tricked. And instead of G7 going to C, it goes to A minor.
Mhm.
So it's gone up a step. Sometimes, though, you borrow chord 6 from C minor, which is A flat major. And you get that lovely surprise kind of sound. So all I'm saying is that in all kind of Western music, dominant chords going up a step is another strong progression.
Mhm.
So that's the two main plays, well, apart from also as a flat and fifth substitute, going down a semitone as well. But E flat 7, that doesn't kind of work very well going to the F slash chord. Just going up a step, that works nicely. So your options are or, or. So, you know, you have to, it's a good idea to try all
I
these
will. Yeah, I will.
suggested chords. I mean, it's a really good book, this. They're not all, you know, with all real, but I mean, I use the, you know, the sort of ordinary real book, and there's a lot of suggested alternative chords in there. They put a lot of the ones that Bill Evans played, you know, and some I love and some I don't like, you know.
Right.
And your ear is always the best guide for you there. Um, but these do kind of make nice sense. So taking it from the third line down then, so let's say we opted to go with F major 7. So we've got the melody note A, the bass note F. A is the third, so we need the 7th, the major 7th. And then we need to thicken it by putting the 5th in. So the next note is G. So B flat 6 chord, B flat in the bass. Third of the chord D, as close to the melody as you can. Now G is the 6th, so we've already got the 6th there. So, and also it's, sorry I've lost my play, oh there we are. It's going on to F. I was going to put F just there, but we don't really need to because it's the right hands are going on to it. what I would do there is double the root. I'll go through that again. We've got to the B flat 6 chord. G is the melody.
Good. Slow. Just talk slowly. I got it. So G is the melody.
B
Okay.
flat
And
is
then
the
B flat
root.
is in the bass. Okay. And then we're going to do the third next. Is that what we said?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. So the D is this is the D is the third.
Yep.
Okay. And
Now,
the seventh is yeah. I'm sorry.
and then at that point,
Where's the
you would say sixth,
the
but
sixth?
the
The
sixth,
sixth is a G.
and that is the melody note. So we
Right.
don't
That's the
need
melody note. Okay. And the seven is in
all we need is another note to
the
thicken
seven is
the
the seven is
text.
the A flat. No.
Well, if it was B flat 7,
Oh,
but
right.
you wouldn't put
B
that in a
flat
B flat
six.
6
Right.
chord.
Right. So we got
So
the B flat. We've
it,
got the melody. We've got the
you've got
third.
everything you need there.
Okay. Right. So you want to? We can have the 5 and 6. I
You,
guess we could have the 9 and 6. What would?
I wouldn't put 5 and 6 there.
Okay.
I would. You can put the fifth there certainly. That works fine.
Right.
And then we're on to A minus 7,
So
E.
this is very valuable to me when we do it, and I tell you what to put in, and then we talk about what we could add. That it
Yeah,
can be invaluable to me.
sure. So go on then, talk me through the next chord then.
Where are we? A-7.
Yep,
Okay. So the melody note uh, looks like it looks like an E going to an E flat.
it is, yeah.
Oh, so it's an E natural then under the chord, correct?
It is,
Right.
yep.
Okay, and
So,
the bass note is an A.
yep,
Okay, and the C is the minor third,
yep,
and the 7 is a G.
that's it. And you've got it. That's everything you need there.
Okay,
Now, when the melody goes to E flat, what's actually happening there is just for half a beat, the A minor 7 has changed to A minor 7 with a flat 5 because the E flat is
right.
a flat and fifth. And that's why in a situation like that, it's really important not to play the fifth as well there,
Mhm.
because if you did,
Because you'd have to move that to a flat 5 also.
well, you would,
Yeah,
but it wouldn't sound so good. You're better just leaving it out.
right.
And then you've got to hold that melody note and change it to an A flat minor 7 chord. I'm not quite sure why he's put A flat minor 6. That doesn't kind of make any sense to me. Anyway, let's try the A flat minor 7. So
Okay, so then
we've already got the melody note.
the right the A flat is in the bass.
Yep,
Okay, and the minor third is the B,
yep,
uh, and the minor 7 is the G flat.
that's it. So that now sounds like this, which is nice. You know, you've got that. So talk me through the next one, D.
Okay, the D is over G minor 7. So the G in the bass,
Yeah,
the B flat is the minor third, and
yeah,
the F is the flat 7.
that's it. You got it.
See, I'm getting a little just by doing it. I'm getting a little faster at it.
Absolutely.
You have to be so fast that you can play it. You know.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So then the next three notes, you just hold the chord down. So we're on to E now, so talk me through that.
So that's a C7. So a C in the bass,
Yeah,
and the third is the melody note, and the B
yeah,
flat is the flat 7.
that's it. So could do with an
So
extra
let's
note.
just look at this and just say, so you're playing this. Would you add anything to it? Just now that
Yes,
okay,
yes, I would. Remember, on dominant sevenths, you always want to add either an upper extension or an altered note.
okay. So then let's
So,
just go through how your mind works in terms of thinking what you could add and what choice you would make.
okay, right. There's not much you can do down in the left hand area. You've not got much scope here really. But what you could do is put the ninth there.
Okay,
Now, you could also put the flat ninth,
right,
but the next note is the ninth up there, so that wouldn't really work because you'd have that.
right,
So instead, stick to the ninth.
right.
Now, crikey, we've got C9. C9, it's already C9 because of the ninth in the melody.
Right.
The bass note, he's got it over B flat. I'm not sure that this is going to work, but we'll try it. So, no, you talk me through. We've got the melody. So the bass note, I've already said is
The
B
bass
flat.
note is a B. This is the C with a D. Right. So the bass note is a B flat,
Yep. So next note to add,
and you like to do. So let's see. This is a C9 sharp five. So uh, I'm trying to think the way you do it. You go to the third next, or you go to the.
third. Third next, yeah, always the third after the melody and bass. Third's the next priority.
Okay. So the third would be the E below it.
That's it.
Okay, and the sharp five is the A flat.
That's it. Now you can't really get the C in there because
Yeah,
it doesn't sound good at all, does it? I can I suggest my own substitution? Put B flat seven in there instead of that C7 with a sharp nine. It just I don't know. But this is doing B flat seven instead of that. So I'll play the two again, and you'll just tell me whether you prefer the first or the second one. That's the first one. The second one is.
it's funny. I never had a problem with this chord with listening to it, and so I don't. I have to listen to it again and play around with it and see which I like better. They neither one sounds perfect right now,
Oh.
but in context, I'm sure would sound fine. It just somehow in isolation, neither one to me sounds great.
Of course, the other option is just to miss it out altogether because
Right.
that don't forget that it's just a chord substitution, so you don't have to play it at all. You could just go like,
I'm not seeing
ah,
any. I'm not seeing any. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, I get. There must be a delay in your. Okay. I think your internet
so
connection might be slowing down.
I'm just playing C7 and nothing else there. So I think in a
Yeah, hold on one
seven,
sec. Did you say something, Sandy? Okay. All right. I think the internet. I think the internet connection is slowing down. Can you hear me? Did you come back? Can you hear me? Peter, can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay. Is it my end or your end? Can
Okay.
you tell?
You've come back on now. I can hear you and see you
Okay.
now.
It's okay. It says my internet connection is unstable, I think. Can I don't know. I never have problems with the internet. Okay, let's assume it's working. Go ahead.
So we're on to the last bar now of that third line down. So we've got
Okay.
C in the melody. So you talk me through the rest of the chord now.
Okay, so it's an A minor, so the A would be in the bass,
Yep,
and then going to the third is the C,
yep,
and the minor seven is a G.
yep. So that could go either there or there.
Okay.
I think I would play it like, or you could play it there as well.
Okay.
In fact, you could double the third. You could have make it quite a big chord. That I think I would opt for that because of what's coming next. So, talk me through the next chord, A flat 7.
Okay, so that would be an A flat in the bass.
Yep,
The melody note is still a C.
yep,
The third is the C, that's the melody note, and the G flat is the flat seven.
that's it. So, if we did the same thing, played an extra third and an extra seventh, then you'd have this movement. So, those two notes remain where they are. The remaining three notes drop a semitone.
Let's go through that the turn slowly. The A minor seven, A flat seven, G minor seven to the
Sure.
G flat nine. It's very slowly. Just put your hands on the from the A minor seven and slowly transition to the through the sort of turn.
Okay. So A minor 7, you talk me through it. We've got C in the melody. So next note.
The A minor is an A in the bass.
Yep.
The third is the C, that's the melody note,
Yep.
and the seven is the G.
Yep. And then what I said was there's not much there. And it's got quite a gap in the middle, so we can just play another third and another seventh because it's still nice spread out there.
Okay.
So talk me through the next
So
chord, A flat seven.
now the bass note goes to an A flat and down a half
Yep,
step.
yep,
Okay. And the major third is the C also, so that's already there.
yep.
And the dominant chord. So it's also the G flat is still the flat seven.
Okay. So once again, say we've got everything we actually need there, but it's a bit sparse. So let's once again play two C's and two
Okay.
G flats. So we've got this lovely chromatic movement there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes. Two of them, the two C's, stay put. The remaining notes, A, G, and G again, all drop one semitone.
Mhm.
Now, the next bit is quite difficult to physically play. I can just do it, but anyway, you talk me through it. The G minor 7.
Okay, there's a G in the bass.
Yep,
The melody notes remaining the same. The let me just see the G minor seven. So the third is the B flat.
it is. Now, you generally don't want the third next to the melody note like that. That sounds slightly discordant. So this is a case where you can't put the third as close to the melody as possible. So
So
instead,
you'd never get closer than a minor third. Is that a basic? If it's shorter than a minor third, like a
It depends on
Second.
the chord.
Okay.
If it was a minor chord, in actual fact, it can sound. Um, say if you'd got the melody note was the third, you could actually put a ninth below it. It
Uh-huh.
sounds really good. So it's more a case really of trying it and seeing what it
Right.
sounds like
Okay.
than having a hard and fast rule about that. But in this case, you've only got to try that to know that that doesn't sound good.
Right. Right.
Actually playing it though, like that, I can just do it, but it's a real stretch for me. Um, so if you can't do it, you have to spread it like that.
Hmm.
That's always the thing, with I mean, if you like Oscar Peterson used to be with gigantic
Right.
hands, could sort of spread his fingers over a twelfth comfortably. It's just mind blowing. Um, so we've now got it's that stretch, by the way, because you're keeping that note down. It makes it a bit easier. If you were playing the C every time, that's hard to do. But because you're holding it down,
Right.
you kind of use it as an anchor. You sink your little finger into it and keep it down, and it's
Right.
like an anchor. So we're on to the G
Right. So
flat nine chord now.
the G flat is in the bass.
Yeah.
The major third is the B flat.
And again, you don't want it next to that melody, so we're going to
Right.
put it there again.
And the flat seven is the E.
That's it. So now, if you look at the left hand alone, can you see you've got this lovely
Yeah, it's kind
smooth
of going down
sound?
chromatically, isn't it?
Yeah,
I love that sound. It's so beautiful.
sounds great. Yeah, and then the right hand, that sort of C unifies the thing. So you've got harmonic movement, but a stationary melody, which works great. Now it says G flat nine, so we really need to put the ninth in. Where am I going to put that?
The G flat nine is the A flat. The
Yeah. So that will go nicely below the melody.
So I mean, often when people say, oh, they when they in the lead sheet when they show a nine, don't pay any attention to it. They're just everything is a seven. You don't. That's not true. When you see a nine, try
Hey,
to play the nine. Oh, your voice is cutting out, I think. Yeah, the internet connection. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Damn. Oh, hold on. Okay, are you back? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I know. I just realized it's a potential problem that I'm between two different routers. So I'll
All
fix that
right.
between now and next time. So that won't happen again. I
Sure.
lost
Yeah.
about the last minute of you.
So I'll just play that bit again now, and I'm going to put that ninth in.
Right. We were discussing whether when it says nine, you need to play the nine or not. That's what we were asking.
Right. Well, again, that's one of those that I can't give a hard and fast rule on that. Very often, when it says nine in the lead sheet, the only reason it says it is because the melody note happens to be the ninth. That is not the case here.
Okay.
And it's a case of trying the ninth to see if it works.
Okay.
But always remembering that you do need at least one extra note with a dominant seventh. A dominant
Right.
seventh on its own isn't quite as colourful as the other seventh chords. And then the ninth is
Okay, so
generally the
let's just talk
fourth.
about when you think about the next note. So you're playing, you've got a bass note, you've got the root somewhere, you've got the major third, you have a flat seven, and now you're
Yeah,
talking about now we're gonna how does your mind work in terms of
right. So you look at the
in
options.
what order do you generally think of which notes you
Right.
begin?
So the ninth is the first option to look
Okay.
for. And in this case, it works fine.
Why not the flat nine? Because the flat nine often sounds better than the nine,
You can
right?
put the flat ninth absolute. That would be, I'm not sure. It's because we've got the flattened fifth there.
Hmm.
So myself personally, I would prefer the ordinary ninth there. Um, you could put the 13th in as well. So that would actually now be one of those upper structure chords that we were talking about.
Okay, so I know in your mind you've been playing for so long that like you know immediately without thinking about it which chords you're going to probably add to a dominant chord. But in
Yeah,
terms at my level, okay, if I
yeah,
see a dominant chord, now I know if one of the things I seem to remember that if it's a 5-1, then the flat nine usually sounds good. It usually helps.
yeah,
Okay, but
yeah.
sometimes it's not a 5-1. Like in this case, it's not a 5-1, right?
No,
It's not going G flat. G flat to B would be a 5-1, right?
yeah,
So it's going from G flat 9 to G minor.
yeah.
So
The reason I'm not keen on it in this case is the melody note, because if you put the ordinary ninth, the
right,
melody note is C, the ninth is A flat, which is a
right.
nice third, and that works.
Okay, no, I'm saying right. If it's not a 5-1, then often the flat nine that may not necessarily work. So no.
It's
Are there any rules to
it's
this or
more really it's more really about what's happening with the melody, because the melody very often
okay,
dictates which one to use. And
okay,
in this case, it's just that the melody, if it's the ninth, is a third, which works quite nicely.
okay.
Whereas that's not wrong, but I don't kind of like it as much as that.
Okay, so you think about the nine, and then do you think about 13 next? Whether to use a
Yeah,
13 or a flat
so you
13?
would always you would always say, right, let's try the ninth or the flattened ninth,
Okay.
and almost always one of those is going to work. Now that on its own is generally sufficient, but yes, the next thing would be the 13th, and again, or the flattened 13th, and a combination of ninth and 13th, or flattened ninth and flattened 13th. They often work as well, but it's got to fit with the melody,
Mm,
and
okay.
sometimes the melody dictates what it's going to be. Um, After that, for the time being, I would stick to just those two options,
Okay.
because it's going to make. I mean, there's lots more options, but it's going to make it complicated. The 11th is not the same as the ninth and the 13th, because if you've got the 11th, you should always omit the third, because the 11th,
No, I'm right. The 11 is like a sus in the dominant chord,
yeah,
and
it is a
has to
sus,
resolve.
yeah,
No,
absolutely, yeah,
I don't like 11.
yeah. Well, they sound good as long as you don't play
Right.
the third, and as long as you then do resolve onto the third.
Right.
But yeah, ninth or flat ninth, 13th or flat and 13th, they are good. Um,
But when you
and
when you're playing and you just hear well, you know it from playing before, or you hear it in your head, which will sound better? How does it work for you?
A bit of both, really.
Okay.
Um, Also, remember that if it's a long note, the melody, a ninth then going to the flattened ninth, or a 13th going to a flattened ninth, creates inner movement.
Okay.
So that's something that you can do. And then another thing that you can do with dominant chords is, say it was a C7, so there, the fifths can go up to the sharpened fifth to the 13th. So you could do that, creates movement inside the chord.
Hmm.
That's a very common thing to do. Or that's something to remember as well. But I'm trying not to sort of overload you with
Right.
too many things, but
No, that right. That's
certainly
fine. Right.
you're on the right track with ninths and 13ths as being your first port of call. So take it from the fourth line down now. So the D, we've got G minor 7. You just talk me through it.
Oh, the D is over a G minor seven,
Yep,
a G in the bass,
yep,
and the minor third is the B flat, and the F
yep,
is the minor seven.
yep. So the F, you could, I think, just there, that's, if you look at the spacing, that's quite a nice spacing.
Hmm.
So that works well. So, so now talk me through the C7.
Right. So the C7 is a C in the bass, and
Yep,
the third is the melody, and the B flat
yep,
is flat seven.
that's it. Now, this is a perfect example of where I would put the ninth, the D, next to the melody. You're going up to A, and then it says C7 flat 9, so the ninth goes down a semitone,
Right.
creating a movement.
And then I can hear it going to F. Yeah.
Yep. So that, and also think that flat ninth, when it is dominant to tonic, it then usually drops a semitone to the fifth of the F chord. So in the middle of the chord, you've got.
Right.
So we've got F. Talk me through that
F
one.
in the bass, and
Yep,
there's the melody note is also F,
yep,
and the A is the major third,
yep.
and
Now, F you can assume is F major 7 or 6. If the melody is the root, you don't play the major 7, so that would sound like this. Now, that is a pretty standard, rule, if
yeah,
you
that's
like.
right. That's what I would get. I would wonder because I would assume it was a 5-1. I would assume it's a major seven, but yet when you play the major seven, it doesn't sound right.
So,
Because
therefore, you
the
play,
melody note clashes. That's okay.
yeah. So, therefore, you play the major 6th instead. The 6th and the major 7th are interchangeable.
Okay.
So, you put the 6th in there. So, we've now got.
Let me just write it on the lead sheet where the six is. This is where are we here?
So it's the fourth line down, it's the
Right.
second bar,
Okay.
and it's F6.
Oh, this little. Okay, I got it. Okay.
Okay. Now, there's two chord progressions there. The original one in the large letters is
Right.
E7
Let's do the
with a
original
flat
one first, and then we'll do the other one
9. Okay.
parenthetically. That way I'll.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So you talk me through the F over an E7 with a flattened 9.
Okay. So we just did the F6, right? Then
Yep,
we're up to the E7 flat nine.
yep,
So it's an E in the bass.
yep.
Okay. And the melody note is F still, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Right. So trying to see the it would be sort of like an E diminished chord where you could sort of be E. I would think of it in terms of it being E G B flat D flat. No? Or
Well, let's do it step by step. So we've got the melody note,
okay.
bass note. What's the next note to add?
Okay, would be the third. So it's
Yep,
uh, let's see. It's well, E7 flat nine. So the E7 it's the I don't know why I'm blocking you. Let's see. The A flat is the major third.
yep. And then,
Okay, and the seven chord would be the D.
yep. Now, it
Okay.
says flat 9, F, the melody is flat 9. Now, that's an example of that's why it's been written in the lead sheet.
Right.
So you don't need to do anything else. You've already got E7 flat 9.
Okay.
And then, so for the last bit where it says E7, you've already got the E7 chord there. Just hold that down and just play the melody. So, one, sorry, I'll do that again. And then you're on to the A chord.
Right. Okay.
So,
So that yeah, there's an
melody
A.
note, E, now you talk me through the rest of that
Right.
one.
There's an A in the bass.
Yep,
The major third is a C sharp,
yep.
and the seven is a G.
Well, if major
The five
7
is.
would be
I'm
G
sorry.
sharp.
The major seven is. Oh, how do we know whether it's an A major seven? It just says A, right?
Right, if it says just a letter, that is
Right.
implying just a triad, but you would always want to make it at least a sixth or a seventh. But it wouldn't be a dominant chord, it would always just be a major one.
Right. Okay. So it's A major seven.
Yeah,
Okay. Right. So there's the major seven is the A flat. Okay.
that's it. So that's everything that you need there. And then you've got to jump up to the. So we're now on to E there. I don't quite know why it's got A sharp diminished written above as an alternative and below as the original. It's the same thing. I think
Right.
that's a misprint. Anyway, um, so Ian the melody, you'll talk me through the rest of this chord now.
So there's a B flat in the bass.
Yeah,
Okay. And I'm a little bit confused. So assuming that the B flat, it's like a B flat diminished chord, right? But assume
yeah,
so if I thought of it as a diminished, I would assume that the next three notes are D flat, E, and G. No?
yeah, that's it. Yeah. So D flat being the third, you can put that up there.
Okay.
You can put the E and the G there. The E is actually in the melody, so we wouldn't
Right.
need it, but you could just play it like that. You could say play two of those, and that would be like that. That's fine, you know. So
Okay.
melody, bass, third, remaining note that's not there is the G. So we're on to D on a B minor 7. So
Okay. So there's a B in the bass, and the third is a is the melody note,
it is.
right? And the seventh is an A.
So you could put the A there. And then what would you suggest to thicken the chord out now? I
We're talking
don't
about
mean
the
an
B.
upper extension. Sorry?
This is a B minor 7. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The fifth?
Yeah, put the fifth in there. And that's quite a nice voice in there. So we're on to third just there. Sorry, melody note G
So the
sharp.
melody
Go on,
note is
you
E. That's the
tell
major
me
third
now.
of the E7,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
D is the
So
D is the seventh.
the so you want bass note, thirds there,
Oh,
D
I'm
is the
sorry, I forgot
seventh.
about the bass note. You're right. The E is in the
Yeah,
bass.
yeah.
Um,
And then it's a seventh chord, so you really want one extra note there. So you could
right,
try the ninth.
right.
That's the flat nine. Ninth.
Right. So the nine is the G flat,
Yep.
and the flat nine is the F.
Yep. Now, because it's going to E next, I think I would go for that. I mean, I agree with you. Generally, I choose the flat ninth rather than the ninth, but that sounds okay. Where it doesn't quite sound right. It's not wrong, but it's not the best choice.
Okay.
So we're on to the next line, which is an A major chord, E in the melody. So talk me
Okay. There's an
through.
A in there's an A in the bass.
Yep.
The major third is a C sharp,
Yep.
and the seventh is a G.
G sharp,
A
because
G.
it's major.
I'm sorry. It's a okay.
That's it.
That I'm getting. Here's a problem. Whenever I see just a letter alone, I need to resolve it. So right, so it's a triad. You can play it as a triad, but of course we're playing everything as four note chords. So we should play it either
Yes.
as a major 7 or a 6. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. If it's just a letter on its own,
Right.
that means major,
Okay.
not dominant.
Okay. Yeah, I have to
So
get
we've
over
got the
that.
major
Okay.
seventh there. Now, just one other thing here to consider that the melody note goes up to F sharp. In terms of an A major chord, what is F sharp?
Is the 13th.
Right, on a major chord, you tend to call it the sixth. I don't know why
Okay, I'm
that
sorry.
is,
Okay.
but it's just convention.
Right.
Yeah, on a dominant chord, you call it the 13th, major and minor, you call it the sixth.
Okay.
Um, so the point I'm making there is that we've got the major seventh there, the G sharp. Although the major seventh and major sixth are interchangeable, you generally don't play them at the same time. So when you go on to the F sharp, just there, I would also put the major seventh there down to there.
Wait,
And
let's slow down just for a second. So we're going to the F sharp. So
sure,
the F sharp is the in the bass. There's an F sharp
F
in the
sharp is the sixth.
the melody note. Is it a
So
G?
we've now got the major seventh and the major sixth. Doesn't sound wrong, but what would be nice there is on the second F sharp to move that major seventh down a step, and then you've got contrary motion. You've got right hand going up, left hand going down.
Explain the notation in that in the first bar of the next to the last line where you have small notes under the large notes. What does that mean?
Right. That's a suggestion that you can play these notes in thirds. Remember that whenever you can get two voices, we call them voices. It's sort of thinking as it when you're arranging it at a piano in a similar way to if you were writing it for a choir.
No, but
So
I'm saying as opposed to playing it at normal size, what does the small size implicate? What is
no, the size is irrelevant.
okay?
What it's saying is that let me talk you through it. So G sharp. So let's just go through the normal thing. Bass notes. I'll play it down there. What's the third of the chord?
Which chord are we playing now?
F sharp minus 7.
Oh,
I've
F sharp
got the
minus seven.
melody note.
Okay,
So the third of the chord is,
so the F sharp minor seven, the minor third is A.
yep. And then what
Okay,
else
A-
do we
and
need?
the minor seven is an E.
Yep. So if we put the E where they've put it, and then on the next melody note, A, the seventh goes up to F sharp. You've got again movement in thirds, which is always something that is a good
Mm.
thing if you can get that in some. Don't have to do it. You could play it like that. That's fine, as they've suggested. Just enhances it that little bit, but it's not a big deal. Next melody note, E.
Let me just see that. Just play from the beginning of the next to the last line, starting from the first note, the E to the F sharp, very slowly. Let me just play that bar very slowly. The first
Just
bar and the next to the
that
last line.
that first bar. Okay, I'm going to start at the beginning of that line. Sorry. Now this is without those extra
Okay.
notes. So remember there we've got melody, bass, third, seventh. I've added the fifth there, it's optional.
Okay.
And then just carry on with the melody. If you want to put those extra notes in, the top two notes of the right hand are a third apart. You can move them both up a step. So what you've got there is the ninth.
You went from a major third to a minor third.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, no,
That's a major
no, no.
third.
Sorry, it is a major. Sorry, it is a major third. Yeah, sorry, I'm with you. And then a minor third. Yeah.
Right.
So what you've got, the ninth, the G sharp, is going to the third. The seventh is going to the root. And because
Okay.
this is something that you often do, couple, like we did it with the major chords, where you did the major seventh and the ninth, going to the sixth and the root. Well, it's a similar concept, except for it's going the other way. So the top two notes are moving up a step in, and they're going in thirds.
Okay.
So we're on to E. So the next thing you add is the
Okay. So the E is then the E in the bass, the major third in E is A flat.
no, we're on the B minor 7.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. The B minor seven. Okay, so there's a B in the bass,
Yeah,
and the minor third is the D.
it is. Now, I wouldn't put that up there, to be honest. I'd put
Okay.
it there. The important thing is it's not down there.
Right.
And then what
And the
else do we
minor
need?
seven is the A.
That's it. Which you could put there. I'd be inclined to put it there as well to fill that gap.
Right.
So we're now on to E. So talk me through this one.
Okay, so the melody note. Again, it's melody note bass third, right?
Yep.
Okay, so the melody note is a G sharp. The
No, no, the melody, we're on the second bar of that line. We've done the B minor 7, we're on the
which
E7
which
now.
line are we on?
It's the next to the bottom line.
Okay, I thought where are we on this? And we're on the second bar. What bar are we on?
Second bar.
Oh, second
We've
bar.
done,
Okay, sorry
you've
about
just
that.
done the B minor 7, so
Okay,
we're
so
on
the
the
melody
E7.
note is an E.
Yep.
Okay, and the bass note is a B.
No, we're on the E7.
Oh, we're on the E7.
You've
Okay.
already you've
All
done the
right. So
B
the
minor
melody
7.
note is an E. The melody
Yep.
note is an E, and the bass note is an E.
Yep.
Okay. And so the third is an A flat.
Yep.
Okay, and the seven is a D.
Yep. Now it's a dominant
And it's a
seventh.
dominant
We
chord.
want,
Okay, don't say anything.
yeah, we
Let me
want,
think about this. So the
sure.
first place we're gonna go is to nine or flat nine. No?
Okay.
So that would be uh this is right. So the nine would be a G flat, right?
Yep. So there's only one place you can put that, and that's there.
Right.
And you can hear that that's it's not great, is it? It's a
Right.
bit muddy. I'll play that. Which would the flat nines be?
With the F.
So I'll play that as well. And
That
again,
sounds
it's
better.
muddy, isn't it? So that didn't really work. So the only other thing you can do now is add. See, ideally we want something in between there and there. What can we put in there?
Okay, so the next place you would go would be the 13.
Yep, which is
In E, the 13 is D flat.
now that does work.
Okay.
I could also try the
Flat 13? No.
which is yeah,
Which
yeah.
is C.
So from the B minor 7, I'll play the 13th first, then the flattened 13th. And now the flattened 13th. Oops, sorry. 13th, flat 13th.
I don't care if I
Now,
like the 13 better, I think.
okay, there's no right or wrong there. They are both
Right.
perfect, you know, valid options there. So we're on to the
I
next
really
line.
look forward to this because when I play, it's beautiful being able to move a half note and hear the different, I'm looking forward to working on this.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
So then we're on to the note E, and again, it's just got a letter A, so it's A major 7 or 6. So talk me through that.
We're on the last chord of the next to the last bar, the E7. Is that where we're with the G?
Uh,
No.
no, we're on the third bar where it says questions.
Let's see. Yeah. Okay. On the A chord.
Yeah,
Okay. So the melody note is an E. There's an A in the
yep,
bass,
yep,
and the C sharp is the major third.
yep.
And so the probably you're going to tell me that it should be an A flat is the major seventh because it
Yep.
means it's not a dominant.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Or you could have the sixth, which would be
That would be the half note down, a G.
no, that would make it a dominant.
Six. Let me see where are we here? The A. Let's see. A is C sharp, E. The 6 is the G flat.
Yeah. Now, I much prefer the major seventh there.
Mhm.
It's not that one's right and the one's wrong, it's just that's my preference. So now this bar, in fact, this and the rest of that line there, we've already done on the line above. If you look at the last two bars in the line above
Mhm.
and the last two bars just here, it's identical. So we don't need to repeat doing that because we've already done that one. But we do need to look at the bottom line, just the first two bars. So we've got A7. Now, when it begins with a rest, always play the bass note and then add the chord on the first note. So A in the melody, we've already got the bass note. And what are we going to put in next?
Um, what's it? Well, the chord is an A7, so right. The
Yeah,
melody note and the A7, the C sharp is
yeah,
the E is the flat seven.
yeah. And then it's a dominant seventh, so we want an
Thing,
extra
not
note.
like the rule was always play the third as close as oh, not the seven. You play the three as close as you can. The seven
Yeah,
can be lower. Okay, I got it.
yeah.
In this case, if the seven was up higher, it probably wouldn't sound again because it's a second. It wouldn't sound very good. Is it?
No, it wouldn't. No, it's not. It's not bad actually, but that's a better sound. So, but it's a dominant seventh, so we need an extra note. So,
Okay, so we can. The first one to try would be the B.
yep. Not really keen on that, to be honest.
Okay, the B flat.
What else can we do?
We can play the 13.
Yep, which is
The G flat.
now I think I prefer that. And in actual fact, in the alternative progression above is written A13,
Uh-huh.
followed by A7 with a sharpened fifth. So, which is the sharpened fifth?
The sharpened fifth uh, is the F.
Yeah. So, in other words, the F sharp drops to the F,
Right.
creating that nice chromatic inner movement. And also because it's a syncopated rhythm, we've got that long note on the offbeat one. It works well there. So A now with a D9 chord. Now this time they've written D9. It is a good thing to play there. They've not written it for the usual reason that it's the melody note because the A is the fifth. So just talk me through the rest of that chord.
Okay, so the D is in the bass.
Yep,
The F sharp is the major third.
yep,
The uh, B is the seventh. I'm sorry. The C is the seven. I'm sorry.
yep. And then the ninth is,
And then the ninth is the D, and the flat nine is the D flat. That's no. I'm sorry. All right. The chord we're playing is D, so the nine is the E, and the flat nine is the E flat.
that's right. Now, again, they've actually written that in, and this certainly works well. The melody
Going from a
notes,
nine to a flat nine, is that it? Or
yeah. So the ninth on the D9 goes to the flat ninth, but also the melody note A goes to B flat. What is that in terms of a D7 chord?
Flat 13?
Flattened 13th or sharpened 5th, which is the
Right.
way they've written it. It's the same thing. So, which is very good voicing. You've got those two notes going a semitone away in contrary motion. And that's a really effective thing. So altogether that bar, we've got the bass note, that works really well, that.
Good.
And then C just there, G minor 7, so we've got,
The chord is G minus 7 over C. So the G is in the bass.
yep,
The third is the B flat,
yeah,
and the F is the 7th.
that's it. I don't know what that asterisk there for. So the C7 now, just tell me that.
Okay. So the G is the melody note. The C is in the bass,
Yeah,
and the third is an E, and the
yeah,
seventh is a, and the seventh is a B flat.
yeah. And then because it's
Hold
a
on.
dominant seventh, just want an extra note because it's a dominant seventh.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. So then we have the hold on. We have the third, we have the flat 7. Okay. Let's try the 9, which is the 9 would be the D, and the
Yep.
flat 9 would be the D flat.
So a sort of obvious thing to do there would be to play the ninth and then the flat ninth because you've got that crotchet rest in the melody. So you want something to be moving. So that would be
Right.
right. You're back onto the A section after that. So I think we'll call it a day there because
Yeah.
you've slaved away for 2 hours and 20 minutes there. Well done. Most people would have given up long ago.
No, you don't know how desperate I am to learn this stuff. Like
I'll tell you what, it's lovely to teach somebody who is as keen as you are.
no, the point I'm glad we spent this time together because at least you were able to appreciate the fact that I put my time in and I know
Uh-huh.
where the notes are.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because I'm sure you're sitting in with a lot of students where you go, where's the 13th? And they don't know where the 13th is.
no, I haven't a clue. Oh dear. Yeah, I mean, a lady I teach that's a very advanced pianist, classically, and she wants to know about chords and that, but she can't even remember how to get an ordinary major and minor chord together. Never mind. So no, you do really really well. So I think that kind of method is a that should be quite fruitful.
That
That
was a great
just
method. That
you
was
know
great. Now I can't wait after I take a nap to look at this.
wonderful.
Okay, I'll tell you what, maybe we should just reserve this time on Saturdays. Is that okay with you? And unless, or is
Yeah,
that,
that's fine. Yeah, yeah.
and
Oh,
that,
I might have to. Sorry, I've just thought next Saturday. Um, could we just make it half an hour later?
sure.
Sure. It's just that I've got somebody
No, no problem. I'm
just
flexible.
before it. Okay, doke. That's great.
So
Okay, doke then.
between now and then, just send me an email confirming it. Okay. Just,
Yeah, sure,
okay.
sure, will do.
All right. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Okay, doke. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next
Okay.
week.
Take care. Bye.
Cheers, then. Bye.
Okay.